The massive dark chambers of the Galactic Council were filled with tension. High-ranking officials from every corner of the galaxy sat in a large circular room, watching the holographic screens flicker. The air was thick with nervous energy, and the weight of uncertainty pressed down on the shoulders of the council members. They had gathered to discuss a matter so important that it could change the fate of the entire galaxy. The council had never expected this. For centuries, they had ruled over countless star systems with unmatched power, forcing species to comply with their laws and demands. But now, the human race, one species they had long ignored, was standing in their way. The humans of Earth had refused to bend to their will. Worse still, they had turned down every offer of peace, every promise of alliance, and now they were threatening to break all treaties. How could they be so foolish? Councillor Vrelis growled, his face twisted with anger. He was one of the most powerful members, known for his cold, calculating nature. Do they not understand the consequences of their actions? We are the Galactic Council. We control the galaxy. A low murmur ran through the room. The Galactic Council had never known opposition like this. Earth had been isolated for centuries, ignored and forgotten as the galaxy moved forward with its plans. Now, out of nowhere, Earth had rallied its forces and declared that it would not surrender. The room grew quiet as Councillor Draxos, a tall alien with glowing red eyes, stood up. He was the one who had pushed for the Council to make contact with Earth years ago. Now his voice was tinged with both worry and disbelief. "We underestimated them," Draxos said, his tone grave. "Humanity. They were not like the other species we have conquered. They are different. Their technology, their resolve. It is unlike anything we have seen before." Councillor Vrelis slammed his fist onto the table, causing the room to shake slightly. "We have the most powerful fleets in the galaxy. Their technology is nothing compared to ours. They are a primitive species. Their ships are nothing more than floating scrap metal." Draxos shook his head slowly. "You don't understand. It's not just about technology. They have something that makes them dangerous." Vrelis sneered. "What is it then? What could they possibly have that could pose a threat to the might of the Galactic Council?" Draxos paused, choosing his words carefully. "It is their unity, their will to survive. They will fight with everything they have, and they are not afraid to die." The council members exchanged uneasy glances. For the first time in a long while, they weren't sure if they could win this. The humans had rejected diplomacy and had gathered their forces. The human fleet was growing larger, and it was clear that Earth was preparing for a conflict that would shake the very foundations of the galaxy. Councillor Kelleth, a member known for his diplomatic approach, spoke up. "We must act quickly. We cannot allow this situation to escalate any further. If we do, we risk war. The entire galaxy could be plunged into chaos." Vrelis stood up abruptly, his eyes burning with fury. "Then let it be war. The humans will learn what happens when they stand against the Galactic Council. They will be crushed, just like every other species that has tried to defy us." Helith sighed, rubbing his temples. "You don't understand. This isn't about a single planet or species anymore. If we push Earth too hard, we may lose more than we expect. We've never dealt with an enemy like them before. We need to make a careful decision." A quiet buzz filled the room as holographic screens flashed, displaying Earth's fleet. The human ships, although not as large or sleek as the Galactic Council's, were heavily armed and seemed to have been prepared with extreme precision. Each ship appeared to be fully operational, and the human fleet was clearly ready for combat. The Council had thought that Earth would back down, that they would bend to the galactic might. But the humans weren't backing down. They were ready to fight. Councillor Draxos spoke again, his voice steady but filled with concern. "I propose we offer them one last chance, one final diplomatic attempt. If we show mercy now, perhaps they will listen. If we push too hard, we risk everything." Vrelis stared at Draxos with disdain. "Mercy? You still want to talk to them? The humans have made their choice. They've rejected our terms, and now they will face the consequences. The room fell into an eerie silence. Everyone knew that this decision would define the future of the galaxy. The Galactic Council had never been in this position before. They had never faced an enemy that could stand against them. Not like this. The council members were divided. Some argued for diplomacy, for finding a peaceful resolution. Others, like Vrelis, wanted to use their full military force to crush the humans once and for all. But no one knew if they could defeat Earth's fleet. The tension in the room was palpable. Each passing second felt heavier than the last. The fate of the galaxy rested on the Council's decision, and time was running out. Finally, the leader of the Galactic Council, Councillor Rorish, spoke. His voice was calm but held an edge of authority that demanded respect. "We have tried diplomacy. The humans have refused it. We cannot let them stand against us. The time for talks is over. Prepare the fleet. It is time to show them the true power of the Galactic Council." A murmur of agreement spread through the room, and the mood shifted. The Council had made their decision. There would be no more negotiations. Humanity's fate was sealed. The war was about to begin. The Galactic Council's decision echoed through the vast corridors of their meeting chamber. Outside the room, the galaxy was alive with activity, but inside, there was only a heavy silence, as the fate of the human race hung in the balance. Councillor Rorish sat at the head of the table, his fingers drumming lightly on the cold surface. His decision had been made, but even he couldn't shake the uneasy feeling in the pit of his stomach. He had always believed in the power of the Council, in the strength of their fleets and their ability to control the galaxy. But now, facing humanity's unexpected rebellion, he couldn't help but wonder if they had underestimated Earth. "Prepare the fleets. We strike at dawn," Rorish ordered, his voice carrying a cold finality. The room erupted into movement as the councillors stood, quickly communicating with their forces and giving orders to their warships. The galaxy, once united under their rule, was now poised for a war that no one had expected, certainly not with humans. Meanwhile, back on Earth, the mood could not have been more different. Humanity, once viewed as weak and insignificant by the galactic powers, had found itself at the center of an intergalactic storm. Yet there was no fear on Earth, only determination. The human diplomat, Ambassador Aiden Walker, stood in front of a massive digital screen, his expression unwavering as he addressed the entire planet. "We've been given no choice. The Council wants to destroy us for standing up for ourselves, but they have no idea what we're capable of." Across Earth, leaders of every nation and military commander watched, listening intently. The diplomat's words were not just for show. They were a rallying cry to the human race. "Prepare yourselves. This is our fight now, and we will not lose." As Ambassador Walker spoke, people around the world were taking action. Military forces, once disbanded or scattered, now rallied together as one. Scientists worked day and night to enhance their technology, to perfect their weapons, to ensure that Earth could stand up to the overwhelming might of the Galactic Council. For the first time, Earth was united, not just as individual countries, but as a single species. Aboard Earth's flagship, the resolute Admiral Soren Jensen watched the fleet's preparations with a steely gaze. His mind was sharp, focused on the task at hand. He knew that this wasn't just a battle for survival. It was a battle for the future of humanity. "We've trained for this day," he said to his officers. "Now we prove that we are more than just survivors. We're warriors, and we will make sure the Council never forgets the name of Earth." The fleet, composed of ships of all shapes and sizes, hummed with life. The human ships were equipped with the best technology they could muster, though not as advanced as the Council's. But what the humans had was something far more dangerous: their will to fight. Meanwhile, on a remote planet within the Council's territory, an alien spy was listening in on Earth's communications. The spy had once been a part of the Council's elite intelligence network, but now he was working for his own survival. He was terrified of what he had heard in Earth's transmissions. "They're ready," the spy whispered to himself, eyes wide with disbelief. "They are not the weak species we thought they were. They'd found something we can't defeat." His mind raced as he thought back to the reports he had seen. Earth's ships were small compared to the massive fleets of the Galactic Council, yet there was something about the way they operated. Their movements were precise, calculated, and deadly. The spy had a sinking feeling in his stomach. Earth might be the underdog in this fight, but they weren't to be underestimated. The spy quickly relayed his findings back to the Galactic Council, but by the time the message was received, the Council had already made its decision. The fleet was already en route to Earth. Back at the Galactic Council's headquarters, Councillor Draxos stood near a large holographic display, watching Earth's movements with a growing sense of doubt. "We might have made a grave mistake," he murmured, as his fingers hovered over the controls. His colleague, Councillor Vrelis, turned sharply toward him, his expression filled with anger. "Stop being so weak, Draxos. We are the Galactic Council. No one defies us. If Earth wants a fight, they will get one, and we will win." But Draxos wasn't so sure. His mind kept drifting back to the messages from Earth. They weren't backing down, and neither was their fleet. As the Council's massive warships began their approach toward Earth, the tension between the two sides grew. Both had made their moves. Both were prepared for the inevitable conflict. In space, the Resolute and the fleet of Earth stood ready, their weapons locked and loaded. Humanity was about to face its greatest challenge, but they would not back down. The Galactic Council's ships were massive and powerful, but Earth's fleet was determined. And the battle for the galaxy was about to begin. The time had come. The vast fleets of the Galactic Council loomed in the distance, their dark ships casting shadows over the stars. The full might of the galaxy's most powerful empire was now within striking range of Earth. The Council had assumed that this would be a simple operation, a quick and decisive attack to crush any resistance. But what they didn't account for was humanity's stubborn refusal to back down. Aboard the Resolute, Admiral Soren Jensen stood in the command center, his eyes locked onto the massive holographic display showing the positions of the Council's fleets. His fingers tapped nervously on the armrest of his chair. The situation was dire, but Earth's fleet was ready. Every ship, every soldier, every pilot had been trained for this moment. "Initiate the countdown," Admiral Jensen commanded, his voice calm but filled with the weight of what was about to unfold. The officers around him moved quickly, activating the fleet's weapon systems. The hum of energy weapons charging filled the room, and the crew's focused expressions were a clear sign that they knew what was at stake. They weren't just defending Earth anymore. They were fighting for their very survival. Far below, on Earth's surface, citizens watched the sky with bated breath. The whole world had been watching this conflict unfold, but no one could predict what would happen next. Would humanity's forces hold, or would the Council's unrelenting power crush them? In cities across the planet, large screens broadcasted the battle in real time. People had gathered in the streets, watching as their fate, and the fate of their world hung in the balance. At the head of Earth's government, President Maria Kessler paced nervously in the war room. The news had spread fast. Humanity's first true test had arrived, and it was happening in real time. She knew that even if they won this battle, they would face future battles. The Council would not give up so easily. "Are we ready?" President Kessler asked, her voice firm, but her eyes betraying the stress she felt. "Yes, ma'am," General Tarek answered from his position at the communications table. "The fleet is positioned. We're locked and ready for their advance." Back in space, the Galactic Council's flagship, the Eclipse, commanded by Grand General Vrelis, loomed over Earth's fleet. The Council had the numbers, the ships, and the firepower. The humans, they thought, had no chance. As their massive warships began to power up their weapons, they were prepared for a quick, decisive strike. But they hadn't accounted for one thing: Earth's resilience. Admiral Jensen watched as the Council's ships grew larger in his viewport. The first wave of enemy fire rained down, massive beams of energy crackling through space, their paths cutting through the void like lightning. In response, Earth's fleet fired back, smaller ships darting through space with incredible speed, launching precision strikes. The battle had begun. The Resolute surged forward, its powerful engines pushing it past other ships in the fleet. The space around them lit up as explosions rocked the battlefield, with missiles and laser fire filling the dark expanse. Earth's ships, though outnumbered, fought with everything they had. They dodged enemy fire with astonishing agility, something the Galactic Council had not expected. The Resolute itself cut through the chaos, its weapon system locked onto the nearest Council ship, unleashing a devastating volley of blasts that tore through the enemy vessel. It wasn't just the ships that were fighting. Ground forces and infantry units on Earth's warships began launching counterattacks from their own weapons pods, while humanity's best pilots, trained to push the limits, swarmed in fighter jets. The speed and precision of their moves shocked the Council. "This can't be happening," Grand General Vrelis shouted, watching in disbelief as one of his flagships exploded in space, disintegrating under the weight of Earth's firepower. In the command center of the Resolute, Admiral Jensen watched the battle unfold with a cold focus. "Do not let up. We push forward until we have the advantage." But the Council was not to be underestimated. Though Earth's ships were showing surprising effectiveness, the Council's fleet was still far more advanced, and their numbers seemed endless. As more and more Council warships arrived, the situation began to feel like a losing battle. Earth's fleet, while formidable, was beginning to show signs of strain. "We can't hold them off forever," one of the officers said, his voice tight with fear. Jensen didn't flinch. "We won't need to hold them forever, just long enough." He wasn't just thinking about the fleet now. Earth's survival depended on something far more crucial. Humanity needed a breakthrough, a tactical edge that would turn the tide of this war. And it was coming. The key to Earth's defense lay not just in firepower, but in something the Council hadn't expected: human ingenuity. Earth had spent centuries working on innovations, new technologies, and strategies, and now they were about to reveal their trump card. It was only a matter of time before it was ready. Back on Earth, the tension was rising. The streets were filled with people waiting, watching the battle unfold. It was as if the entire world was holding its breath. Everyone knew that victory or defeat hinged on these crucial moments. Would humanity rise above the might of the Council, or would they fall into oblivion? And then, from the depths of space, a new force emerged. Earth's secret weapon was about to change everything. The battle was reaching a critical point. Space was a war zone, filled with the relentless sounds of explosions, laser beams, and the constant hum of weapons charging. The Galactic Council's massive fleet seemed endless, and their warships were equipped with technology that Earth had never seen before. They had the upper hand, but humanity's forces refused to back down. The fight was far from over. Admiral Jensen stood at the center of the Resolute's command bridge, his eyes scanning the chaos of the battlefield. His ship had sustained damage, but the crew was pushing through, refusing to surrender to the overwhelming force of the Council. Earth's fleet was holding their ground, but it was clear that they needed something more to win this fight. The Council was too powerful, too well prepared. "Commander," said one of the officers, his voice tense, "we've sustained heavy damage. Our shields are down to 35%, and we're outgunned." Admiral Jensen clenched his fists. He had seen this before. Humanity had been through countless wars, countless battles, and yet they had always managed to find a way to survive. But this time, it felt different. The enemy was too advanced, too powerful. He couldn't let the Earth fall, not after everything they had been through. "Not yet," Jensen muttered, eyes narrowing. "We haven't lost." The officer looked at him, confusion spreading across his face. "What do you mean, sir?" Admiral Jensen turned slowly to face him. "Hold the line. We're not fighting them with what they expect." Humanity has something they don't understand, something that will shift the tide in our favor. He knew that the time had come for the Earth's hidden weapon to be revealed. While the explosion of the eclipse sent shockwaves across the galaxy, the destruction of the Galactic Council's flagship had left them stunned, unprepared, and vulnerable. Yet, the Council was not a weak, unorganized force. They had vast resources, and they would not let one failure define the outcome of this war. Admiral Jensen stared out of the Resolute's command bridge window, his eyes still locked on the fading remnants of the eclipse. It was hard to believe the enormity of what had just happened. The Council's flagship, the symbol of their power, was reduced to space debris in the blink of an eye. But Jensen knew this victory was only a small piece of the puzzle. The battle was far from over. "Admiral," his communications officer said, her voice urgent, "the Council is regrouping. They've deployed reinforcements, and they're preparing a counteroffensive." Jensen's eyes hardened. The Titan had been humanity's trump card, but if the Council brought enough firepower to bear, it might not be enough to stop them. They had underestimated humanity before, but now they would see the true potential of Earth's fleet. "Hold steady," Jensen commanded. "We've won one battle, but this war is far from over. We're not just defending Earth anymore. We're fighting for the future of every human being in the galaxy." Meanwhile, aboard the Titan, the crew was preparing for the inevitable retaliation. The massive warship had proven its strength, but even it couldn't withstand the full might of the Galactic Council's forces if they threw everything they had at it. Still, the Titan was humanity's greatest asset, and it was far from defenseless. "Sir," said Lieutenant Harris, the Titan's tactical officer, "we're receiving intelligence from Earth's command stations. The Council's reinforcements are on their way. We're expecting their full fleet, more ships than we've ever seen before." Jensen's lips pressed into a thin line. The numbers didn't matter. He knew the Titan and Earth's fleet could handle whatever the Council threw at them. But as he prepared to issue the next set of orders, something caught his eye on the radar. "Wait," he said, his voice low with surprise. "There's something else. A small fleet. It's moving quickly." The radar display showed a group of ships moving at incredible speed, smaller than the Council's massive warships, but fast and stealthy. These ships didn't show up in the Council's fleet registry. They weren't Council ships. "Who are they?" Jensen demanded. Harris scanned the incoming data. "They're human, but they're not part of our fleet." Jensen's eyes widened in realization. Reinforcements from Earth. We weren't the only ones who were prepared. As the Titan moved to engage the Council's massive reinforcements, a second fleet of human ships appeared out of nowhere, joining the fight. These ships were sleek and nimble, designed for speed rather than firepower. They began to harass the Council's reinforcements, drawing attention away from the main battle. The new fleet was a game-changer. These smaller ships, although not as powerful as the Titan, were equipped with advanced cloaking technology, making them nearly invisible to the Council's scanners. They flitted in and out of the battle, hitting the Council's ships hard and fast, making it nearly impossible for the enemy to organize a counterattack. Admiral Jensen watched as the new fleet caused havoc among the Council's reinforcements. The tables had turned once again. The Council had thought they had the upper hand, but humanity's preparation had caught them off guard. It wasn't just the Titan. It was the combination of human ingenuity, technology, and relentless determination. "Keep the pressure on them," Jensen ordered. "We need to keep them on the back foot." As the battle raged on, it became clear that the Council was not prepared for what humanity had brought to the table. The small, swift ships provided just the distraction needed to allow the Titan and Earth's larger fleet to hit the Council's warships with precision. Every time the Council attempted to regroup, they were hit from another angle, never allowing them to gain the upper hand. But as the human fleet pressed forward, something far more dangerous was lurking. The Council had one last trick up their sleeve, a weapon unlike any the humans had seen before. In the heart of the Council's command ship, Grand General Vrelis watched as the battle unfolded. His face was tight with frustration. "We are losing," he muttered. "But not yet." "Sir, we've received the final piece of our weapon," one of his subordinates said. "It's ready." Vrelis turned, his eyes gleaming with a dark intensity. "Activate it. We're going to show them what true power is." On the other side of the battlefield, Earth's forces were blindsided by the sudden appearance of a massive, unseen fleet. The Galactic Council had unleashed a new, monstrous weapon, one that could change everything. For a moment, Earth's forces hesitated. Was it too late to turn the tide of battle? Could humanity survive the Council's final assault? With all the hopes of Earth hanging in the balance, the next move would decide everything. The battle raged on as the human fleet, with its sleek new reinforcements and the powerful Titan, pressed forward. The Council's warships were now scattered, disorganized, and retreating, unable to keep up with the devastating speed and precision of humanity's tactics. Yet, despite the chaos around them, the humans knew one thing: the battle was far from over. Admiral Jensen stood in the command center of the Titan, his gaze fixed on the holographic display that showed the battlefield unfolding around them. Ships were falling, their debris floating in the cold void of space. The humans had pushed the Council to the brink, but something deep within his gut told Jensen that the Council had not yet revealed their most powerful weapon. "Admiral," Lieutenant Harris spoke with urgency in her voice, "there's something new on the radar, something we haven't seen before. It's enormous." Jensen's heart skipped a beat. The last thing they needed was another surprise. "What is it?" Harris's fingers flew across the control panel as she scanned the incoming data. "It's not just one ship, Admiral. It's a fleet we didn't know existed, and it's heading straight for us." The battlefield shifted, and the human ships began to form up in a defensive position. But it was clear, the new fleet coming from the Council was unlike anything humanity had faced before. It was massive, with ships that dwarfed even the Titan. This new fleet wasn't just an army. It was a force of destruction, designed to obliterate anything in its path. "We're about to find out just how dangerous the Council can be," Jensen said, his voice tight with resolve. He knew this was the moment they'd been waiting for, the true test of humanity's might. Meanwhile, in the depths of the Council's command vessel, Grand General Vrelis stood before a massive control console, his expression grim. His forces were faltering, but the time had come to use their ultimate weapon, the one that would crush humanity's hope for victory once and for all. The Council's fleet was preparing to launch their final assault, and it wasn't just about firepower. This new weapon was something far worse. It was designed to break humanity's will, to shatter their spirit. "Activate the weapon," Vrelis ordered coldly. "Let them see what true power is." A subordinate rushed to a terminal and initiated the weapon sequence. A low hum filled the command center, vibrating through the walls as an energy field began to take shape. The weapon was known as the Oblivion Singularity, a device capable of creating a localized black hole. It would annihilate everything in its vicinity. No ship, no person, no civilization could survive its pull. Outside the command ship, in the vastness of space, the human fleet readied itself for the battle of a lifetime. The Titan and its allies lined up, preparing to take on the Council's remaining ships. But then, the Oblivion Singularity activated, and everything around them began to change. On the Titan, Jensen felt the subtle shift in gravity. The pull of the Singularity was already starting to affect their ships. Instruments started flickering, and the space around them distorted. The fleet was being drawn in, slowly, relentlessly. "What the hell is happening?" Harris shouted, gripping the edge of her station. "We're being pulled in." Jensen's mind raced. The Oblivion Singularity was real, and it was already working. They had mere minutes before the gravitational forces of the Singularity would tear them apart. Yet even in this dire moment, there was no panic in his eyes. He had faced impossible odds before. Humanity had faced impossible odds before. They would not be the ones to back down now. "Prepare to engage the singularity's energy field," Jensen ordered. "We need to counteract its pull." Harris quickly went to work, but the task was monumental. The Titan's engines were powerful, but they were no match for the pull of a black hole. They would need a miracle to survive this, but the crew of the Titan had done the impossible before. Jensen's voice rang out, commanding his crew. "We are not going to let this be the end. We fight through this, or we die trying." As the Titan strained against the gravitational pull of the Oblivion singularity, the remaining human ships moved in tight formation, preparing for the impossible task of escaping the singularity's grasp. Some ships were already being torn apart by its power, but Jensen knew one thing: humanity was resilient, and if there was any chance, even the smallest chance, to survive this, they would take it. On the other side of the battlefield, the Council's ships were closing in. The singularity was their weapon, but it wasn't without risk. If the gravitational forces became too strong, it would destroy everything, even the ships using it. "Fire," Vrelis commanded. The energy beams surged from the Council's flagship, but the Titan wasn't alone anymore. The rest of the human fleet was moving in, despite the pull of the singularity. The Council's ships had grown overconfident, thinking they had humanity on the brink of destruction. But humanity's resolve would not be so easily broken. The Titan's engines roared to life, and with every ounce of power, the ship began to break free of the singularity's influence. But it wasn't just the Titan fighting for its life. It was the entire fleet, pushing together, drawing strength from one another. "Push harder," Jensen yelled, his voice booming over the comms. With an effort that seemed to defy the laws of physics, the human fleet began to break free from the singularity's pull, inch by inch. The enemy had thrown their greatest weapon at them, but they had underestimated humanity's will to fight back. The gravitational forces of the Oblivion singularity were closing in with terrifying strength, pulling on the fabric of space itself, distorting the stars and warping the battlefield. The human fleet was on the edge of collapse, but there was a fire in Admiral Jensen's eyes that refused to die. He watched as the Titan, along with its remaining allies, fought against the singularity's pull, engines roaring, straining with every ounce of power they had left. "All ships, hold your position." Jensen's voice rang out over the comms. "We're not done yet." Around him, the human ships were pushing against the void, moving in a desperate but coordinated effort. Every ship knew that failure meant certain death. They had no time to waste. Harris's voice crackled through the speaker. "Admiral, we're losing power to the engines. The singularity is draining everything we have." Jensen's jaw clenched. The Titan was the flagship, but even its massive engines couldn't hold up against this force for long. All around them, the remaining ships of the human fleet were in similar trouble. Some were already beginning to tear apart under the pressure. The singularity was eating away at them, piece by piece, and the rest of the enemy fleet was moving in for the kill. But then, something unexpected happened. Through the haze of desperation and chaos, a message came through from the human fleet's secondary command center. The voice of Colonel Matthews, the commander of the Vanguard cruiser, came through, calm and unwavering. "Admiral, we found a way to disrupt the singularity's power core," Matthews said. "We need to combine our energy systems into one massive discharge. It's risky, but it could work. It'll either take down the singularity or burn out all of our ships in the process." The message hit Jensen like a thunderbolt. The risk was immense. A single miscalculation would result in the death of everyone involved. But the Admiral had no other choice. "Do it," Jensen ordered without hesitation. "All ships, prepare to sync power cores with the Vanguard." The fleet had no time to waste. Each ship had to connect their systems and channel their power to Matthews' Vanguard. The sheer complexity of the operation meant that only the most advanced ships could carry it out. And even then, the risk of failure was astronomical. But if it succeeded, the combined energy could short-circuit the Oblivion Singularity and release them from its grasp. Admiral Jensen watched as the ships formed a synchronized grid, sending energy pulses toward the Vanguard. "Hold on." Matthew's voice came over the comm again. "We're going to overload the core in 3, 2, 1. The entire human fleet released a single, unified burst of energy, a strike of sheer willpower. The moment the blast collided with the Singularity's core, the universe itself seemed to bend and twist. The gravitational pull weakened, flickering erratically as the combined energy surged through the battlefield. The Titans shook violently as their systems overloaded, and for a moment, Jensen thought they were done. But then, the Singularity began to flicker out. It was as if the universe had taken a breath. The black hole's immense gravitational field slowly began to fade, and the stars in the distance returned to their usual positions. "Did we do it?" Harris asked breathlessly. The silence on the comms was deafening. Then Matthew's voice came through, shaking with disbelief, but laced with triumph. "We did it, Admiral. The Singularity is gone. The Council's weapon is neutralized." For a brief moment, it felt as if time had stopped. The fleet's collective breath was held, waiting for the final word. And then, a cheer erupted across the fleet. Humanity had survived. Against all odds, they had triumphed over the Oblivion Singularity and had thwarted the Council's deadliest weapon. But even with the Singularity gone, the battle was far from over. The Council's ships, though damaged, were still coming. Admiral Jensen knew that the next phase of this fight would be just as brutal. But for now, they had won a small but crucial victory, and humanity was not about to back down.